Hey, welcome to Change the Odds, the podcast where marriage and family were never meant to be a game of chance. My name is Kevin Thompson, and today we have my golfing professional with us, Will Robbins. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
Did you ever imagine yourself being on a marriage and family podcast?
Well, I can give some advice. I'm not sure if it's good advice, but I can give some advice on how not to.
Notice we didn't have Mandy join us today.
Yes, yeah.
So, Will, you and Mandy have an amazing story to the beginning of your marriage and then what God has done since then. But before we get there, tell us where you're not from. Kansas City, it doesn't sound
just
like.
Just outside, yes.
Where exactly are you from, and what was kind of your beginnings?
Yeah, so originally from Stratford-upon-Avon, Shakespeare's hometown.
I don't even know what that means.
Okay, so upon Avon means the river. So the river Avon. So you'd be like Carmichael on Avon.
Okay,
right?
I got you.
Or the American River. Oh no, on the American. Let's not even try.
Whatever.
Okay. So born in England, for the golfers, close to the Belfry where the Ryder Cup was held. The ones that we won. Yeah. That was a dig there, everybody. And so, took up golf at 13, loved it, told my parents I want to move to America and come out here and play college golf. And at 17, I was in Monterey Peninsula playing college golf.
Yeah. So what was that like? I mean, first of all, that's a huge change, obviously. But then you are in what for us is the golf Mecca.
Yeah.
Well, we'd call it the golf Jerusalem, whatever you want to call it. But the place. So what was it like down in Monterey going to college?
Amazing. Yeah. I'd gone out there the year at 16, you finish school in England, then you do 2 more years before university. And I'd gone out after for a sort of a break for about 6 weeks and played golf at Monterey Peninsula Country Club and was like, this is where I got to live. This is where I got to be. Mm-hmm. And so came out there, had my coach, Luke Phillips, and it was just a blast. It was just like playing golf every day. I remember the first day of school and I'm in my math class and one of my buddies knocks on the window. He's like, come on out. I was like, what are you doing? I got math class. He's like, no, let's go to Poppy Hills and practice our bunker game. And I was like, I'm in the right place.
No, that's exactly right.
So it was a lot of fun. It was 4
years. Did you play 4 years?
So 2 years was community college.
Okay.
So Monterey Peninsula, CSUMB hadn't opened yet. So it was the community college there. So I did 2 years there and then got a scholarship to Florida, to Northwood University in West Palm. Okay. So I had to go to NAIA because I needed a full ride scholarship and I couldn't get that with NCAA. So,
there you go.
So it worked out well.
So you finish up your college career and then is your perspective then, man, PGA Tour?
Yeah.
Is it European Tour? Do they still have a European Tour? What is it that you want?
I'm in America. I don't want to go back. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, my thought was I caddied at Cypress Point for my first 2 years. So under Jim Langley, he was the head pro there for 40 years. And I knew when I graduated from Florida with my business degree, it was like I've got to go somewhere I can go and make some money while I work on my game. So I went back, caddied for Jim for 3 more years, and then got sponsorship from all the members at Cypress. Not all the members, but 8 members from Cypress. And I got a 3-year contract signed up. And I knew a lot of my friends who were like, hey, I'm going to go and play on tour. And they got like 10 grand and went and played 5 events, lost all the money, and then left. And I was like, well, if I actually want to do this, I've got to, it's a business. It's going to take it takes 7 years on average to get onto the PGA Tour. So my thought is if I had 3 years of money, I'd be able to work my way through the Canadian Tour to the web.com, and then hopefully the PGA Tour. So I had a structure, had a plan, had good backing behind me, had a good coach, and felt like I was on a pretty good path.
Yeah. So at Cypress, I don't know if you're even allowed to share this, but who did you caddy for at Cypress? Was there what's the most interesting round at Cypress?
The most interesting round was my best friend from England caddying with me because he came out to visit for a couple of weeks. I shouldn't say this on national information, but I came out for 2 weeks and ended up staying for 2 years. Caddying with him, he carried for the member. We had Freddie Couples and I caddied for Ernie Els at Cypress Point. And that was pretty epic.
Oh, wow.
When Ernie was, number 2 in the world and up against Tiger every week, like 2001, 2002 kind of era. So that was pretty epic.
Well, I mean, did he miss a shot?
No, it was scary. I had to have a real think about my golf game. He started to tell me like the targets he was picking, and he would say, "What's the line, cuz?" And I was like, "It's the left edge of the fairway." He's like, "No, cuz. What's the line?" Okay, you see the tree on the left and the little branch hanging out. Okay, and it hit it, and he never missed one target that I told him to hit at. It was one of those ones where you're like, I know I can make it, but there's also another level. There's playing on the PGA Tour, and then there's being a world-famous, world-beating major champion, and that was pretty cool to watch. Yeah. Should be like, wow.
So at what point within this do you meet Mandy?
So that's a good question. When is that? So my coach at the time, we went to college together, Gene, and he had been telling me for years, you got to meet Amanda, you got to meet Amanda. It was his now wife's best friend at UC Davis. They went to Davis together. So when I went off to Florida to go and play golf in Florida, he went to UC Davis, and he's like, you got to meet Amanda. And I was like, I don't need to no, I'm fine. And then I was 23 and still in Monterey, and I think somebody had graduated from some college there or something, some language institute, I think it was. And I met Amanda, and I was like, hey, why didn't you tell me sooner?
And then, for you, was it instant, man, there's something about her, or was it, how did that work for you all?
She knows that when she listens to this, if I said that, she'd be like, shut up. We both got played by our best friends, because Jean would go and say to Alicia would say to Amanda, oh my goodness, like, Will thinks the world of you. Like, he can't stop telling Jean all about you. I was saying nothing, right? And then Jean was telling to me, Amanda just, and so they were basically pairing us up against each other. Yeah. So I think what I realized was, after a while, that I was like, you know what? I really love spending time with this person. Like, she sees me for who I am. I didn't know who I was. She could see that. She could see the internal side of me, the better side of me. And I loved being around her. I loved hanging out with her. And it was like, wow, this is different, And so there was just that moment that I remember when it clicked, and it was like, I have the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. And prior to that, I had no thought of, I was going to go and play professional golf. That was it. I was very self-centered and focused on my career. I wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to get married. And then it just clicked. I was in the Bahamas at a Tony Robbins event, and Tony Robbins went through all this. Like, could you imagine having this person in your life that cared for you, that saw the best in you, that you loved hanging out with, you had all that? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I've already got it. I've already got it. Don't mess this up. So went home, got on one knee in a muddy field in England with no flowers and no ring, asked her to marry me. She said yes, went home. She said, you did ask my dad? And I said, no. Called her dad. I was like, hey, Al. He'd met me one time. Hey, Al, it was Christmas Day. I was like, hey, Al, just want to ask you, could I ask for your daughter's hand in marriage? And he's like, oh, yeah. And then handed the phone over to Mandy and said, well, that was a bit of a curveball. I was just expecting Merry Christmas. And so we were underway. But they pretty quickly got an idea of who I was, pretty much fly by the seat of my pants, kind of like, just if I see something that is right, then I'm going to go after it. So
you get married. Where was the wedding?
So the wedding was on the beach in Cayucas, California. So right in between LA and Monterey, San Luis Obispo area. Oh, yeah. My brother-in-law married us on the bluffs right there. And there was like 12 of us on the, and then we went to a winery afterwards at a friend's winery and had a big party.
So you head off to your honeymoon. Right.
No, we decided it would be better to wait 6 months, because if you go in the summer, it's monsoon season. So if we want to avoid the monsoons, the rain, so we thought we'd go at Christmas because the weather's so much better, good. And we'd catch something else.
How interesting. So to avoid all the water, you went 6 months later. Yeah. So tell us where you went on your honeymoon. And
so we flew into Bangkok, spent a day in Bangkok seeing all the temples and running around there. Went up to Chiang Mai, so northern Thailand, enjoyed just being with the people there, and then flew down to Koh Phi Phi, which is off of an island of Phuket, and it's where a very famous movie, The Beach by Leonardo DiCaprio, was filmed on Koh Phi Phi Lay, and Koh Phi Phi Don was the two islands that they were on. So there's just unbelievable, the most, you see Thailand in a movie, you're going to see Koh Phi Phi. That's what you're going to see.
Yeah. So you were there, you were going to be there for how long?
We were going to be there, I think, 7 days.
Okay, 7 days. So you have 6 great days.
6 great days.
Six tremendous days.
Yep, 6 tremendous days.
And then it comes to the last day. You're figuring out what your last day is going to be. This is Thailand, 2004.
Yep.
And let's watch this video to see what happens from that point.
Let's take a look.
Over there are the people of the Jonggala area. Hello. People of the garden area, as well as people over there at the poolside. Everyone, Merry Christmas, okay?
My name's Amanda Robbins. I'm from Sacramento, California. I'm a 6th grade science teacher, and in December of 2004, I was going on my honeymoon with my brand new husband to Thailand. It's a beautiful place. They were lighting lanterns and sending them up into the sky. You just think back about the people you saw and things that you did, and it was incredible.
Koh Phi Phi, what an island. Just paradise, an absolute
Beautiful.
paradise.
We were basically just trying to decide how we were spending the last day of our honeymoon.
Should we drink a couple cocktails and hang out by the pool, or should we go on a speedboat and enjoy the day? Things were good. Things were very good.
We started hearing people screaming and running.
Look at the waves coming! Clear out, people! Shit, 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 shit. Oh, man, please get on. Please get on. Please get on.
It started getting so loud that we had to scream to each other, and we were screaming, I love you, I love you. And I looked at Will and I said, this is it, isn't it? And just as the room erupted, he screamed, no, this isn't it.
The whole room imploded and we were in pitch black, going around in a washing machine.
Will and I were underwater, and I just remember just, tumbling and tumbling.
I have no breath left, and I've been smashed to pieces, and just kept on thinking to myself, this isn't how I die. This is not the end of my life. And then, very shortly after that, realizing this is the way I die.
I was sending prayers to my family, and all of a sudden, we just popped up, and we were in the middle of the ocean.
I couldn't use my arms because my clavicle had broken, and we were being sucked back onto the island.
In order to stay up, I tried to kick, to swim, to doggy paddle, to anything, and I realized I couldn't move my legs. And something snapped, and I just knew my legs were useless.
I couldn't think of the pain because I was just in the middle of the ocean, and my wife was next to me screaming that she was broken, and I just was thinking, how are we going to get out of this?
I didn't really think that we were going to get out of the ocean. I didn't think that we were going to make it, and that's when the large rescue boat came into the bay.
It was just absolute carnage. I just remember there just being so many people on this boat. They just kept on bringing more people on.
My pelvis had not only fractured and broke, but shattered. I thought I was going to be paralyzed because I couldn't move anything from my waist down. It just seemed really hopeless. When we finally did dock, I was the first person that was taken off the boat. It was dark, it was evening, and I never let go of the fact that it was gonna be over.
I was doing great compared to the 5 people lying with white sheets over them in front of me. Yeah, I was broken, and yeah, my wife was maybe paralyzed or in a huge amount of pain, but in the realm of things, I was doing really well.
I had extreme guilt building and building because while we were in hospital, we learned of people that we knew or that we saw that didn't make it. It's horrible because you think, what am I gonna do in my life that's gonna make up for their life as well? Because I made it and they didn't. I'm still hurt inside. I still have nightmares that I'll wake up screaming in the night. I still feel guilty sometimes. And sometimes I wake up so excited to be alive that I think I radiate joy.
It was almost 300,000 people died that day who had potential, who had an opportunity, who had, who had a life ahead of them. So daily, I put it on myself, sometimes too much, to try and do something special, try and be better than I should have been, and continue to strive, because I don't feel like they're pushing me to do that, the people that didn't make it. It's more like they're there saying, you know, do it for us.
Okay, well, that's a heavy video, first of all. Let's give credit. So that is part of a longer documentary. That documentary is actually an hour and a half. We just showed a 6-minute segment of you guys. So the documentary covers 4 to 5 families who were in it. So first of all, who did the documentary? And then whenever you watch that video now, what are the things that begin to come to mind?
Yeah, so it was Darlow Smithson Production that created it. It was called Tsunami Court on Camera. So you can see it on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube. Okay. There's 5 families, and it basically, minute by minute, takes us through the day of who's in Sumatra, who's in Sri Lanka, who's in Thailand, and who's in Indonesia, and how's it all happening? What's Will and Amanda doing at this time? And so I suppose when I see that video, I mean, it brings back that day very clearly. I think the hard part is probably when I hear of the amount of pain that Amanda was in as a husband. It's really hard. That was probably one of the hardest parts. We'll talk about being in hospital and being completely helpless, like you're and hopeless, like in terms of you can't help somebody who's laying in bed next to you, literally crying and screaming, and I can't move. I'm broken all over. And so, you know, those are not a great way to start a marriage, but it certainly teaches you a lot.
Yeah. So what was, from the end of where we see the footage, which amazing, first of all, to have so much footage of you guys.
Yep.
How did your family find out that y'all were okay or not okay? Or
So we're on the boat. So we got from one boat to another. So we were in the water. Marcus pulled us out of the water. So then we go from one boat to a fishing boat, from a fishing boat to a scuba diving boat, from a scuba diving boat to a fishing trawler. Fishing trawler becomes the hospital. We then get taken back to shore, and then that's when we got put in the back of a pickup truck, driven to the hospital. And the picture of the front page of the newspaper was that picture where I'm walking through the hospital with Mandy, who's on the wooden door, right? She's on the wooden door that they've put her on. I'm covered in blood, and we're walking through, and my brother goes to the local what would you call it, like a little store to go and buy breakfast and buy everything, because everyone's at my house. They're all at my house. They're like, Will's going to be fine, Amanda's going to be okay, it's all going to be okay, but we don't know. He walks out, and on the front page of the newspaper, that's that picture, and that's how my family knew for sure we were alive.
Wow. So the physical recovery from that for the two of you, how long did it take, and what did that look like?
So physical recovery within 6 weeks, within 5 weeks, Amanda was walking. Triple pelvic fracture, so she was, she couldn't walk quite some time. For me, clavicle probably took another couple months, and then the head trauma, neck trauma, and stuff like this, and pain was probably a year and a half to going to get through 90% of it.
Yeah, was that the end of your professional golf career?
No. I was in the hospital a couple of weeks later on a treadmill, or on a bike, just being like, I've got to get back out there. I have got to prove that something good's got to come from this. So I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna dedicate myself even more. I'm gonna focus even more, and I'm gonna win tournaments, and I'm gonna say thanks to the people that didn't make it, and to the opportunity that I'd been given, or not say thanks, but just be able to share their story because they didn't get to have one.
Yeah. So like I've earned this, or not earned it, but
this isn't for me, it's for you. You know what I mean? So
no, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the documentary, you kind of have that mindset of I gotta do something about that. I gotta strive to make something happen. Ignorant perspective of mine is, you have a traumatic event like that where God rescues you. Man, from that moment on, you just live in absolute gratitude to God and perfection and everything that's taken place. But how did you cope from that, and even the emotional trauma? Mandy talks a lot about the survivor's guilt. How did you specifically cope with that?
The first 6 weeks, I just let God take over. I'd literally only just started to understanding what a Christian was. I hadn't given my life to Christ yet, but I just let God take over, and it was unbelievable. He just followed through with everything. Like, no matter what happened, he just showed up. Our insurance gets dropped, bang, the next day our insurance company shows up, the people from the actual company, and says, we're so sorry, here's a check to replace everything you lost. Mandy loses her job. Don't worry. Like, there was not a blip on the radar. And then unfortunately, I slowly took it back, and I said, okay, well, that's great, God, but now I need to actually go and earn money, and I need to go and play golf, and I need to, and I slowly grabbed all of that back, and bit by bit, not knowing, but I was just bringing me back into the picture, and bit by bit, it just became, okay, well, you know what, anger, alcohol, frustration, you know, and I wasn't going to be depressed, you know what I mean? I'm just going to keep going faster and faster, and the next thing you know, it was just alcohol and drugs was an easy way to do it, you know? And so, yeah, went from 238,000 people died to a few years later driving down a freeway thinking I could just drive head on into that semi and end my life. And it's a hard thing to say because 238,000 people died. But the fact is I didn't have Christ in my life. I didn't have God in my life. I was completely I was back in self. I was completely, I was trying to fix my wife. I was trying to fix her. I was trying to make as much money as possible to stay safe. I had to, you know, I had to do it all. I had to earn it. I had to dig it out of the ground. And God never asked me to do that, but that was my solution. And I completely lost surrender and was, you know, just completely lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what changed that? What was there a moment? Was there a point that, all right, this is the low point, or was there just a season? Or
yeah, I remember saying that I would never drink and drive. Two of my best friends, one of my best friends, unfortunately had an accident, drunk, and killed one of our great friends. And another one of my friends drove and crashed a car, and a girl died in it. And I said, I'll never drink and drive. And I remember starting to drink and drive. And I remember one night in Spain, I was so drunk, and I got back to my hotel. I have no recollection of how I wasn't even in the right country. I was in the wrong country. I didn't even know where I was. And I crashed my car into someone's house, and I found it parked perfectly, parallel parked very nicely in front of my hotel. And apparently I got us there. And I was like, I don't even remember being in the car. Don't even remember any part of it. I could have killed somebody last night, you know? And right before I got on that trip, my best friend, who was just like me with drinking and drugs, was like, hey, man, I found AA. And I was like, oh, what a loser. I was like, there's no way. I'm like, dude, you're not an alcoholic. Because my brain was like, I drink just like you and do drugs just like you know? But he wasn't trying to promote it to me. He wasn't like, hey, you got to come to me. He was just like, he was a completely different person. I was like, what the heck? And I came back and I said, hey, man, I'd love to go to a meeting with you. No idea what I was talking about. But I was like, I saw a change in him that was, you know, I want to have what he had. And because I knew Darren, and I knew who he was, and he wasn't the same person in front of me. So I went to a meeting and I went in there, and it was just like, oh my goodness, like, it felt like being, if you were on fire and someone dumped about 100 gallons of cold milk on you. That's what it felt like. It was like this feeling of like taking a breath and being like, okay, why do these people understand me so much? And why do they make so much sense? And why do they struggle like I struggle? I couldn't think at the time that could be because you're an alcoholic, you know, but it was just amazing. I came back to the States. And I said, okay, if there was a meeting around, I would go to it. And I looked up, and there was one about 300 yards from my house at the end of my street at Friends Church in Citrus Heights. And I was like, I'm going to go. And short version, but within 3 months, I realized there was a day that I was like, I haven't thought about drinking in weeks. And I had tried everything. I'd gone to Tony Robbins to try and stop drinking and, try to stop doing drugs and just trying to find myself, you know, and I'd done everything, you know, the power of now and, you know, meditation and all this, and none of it had worked. And here I found myself like, I had no desire to drink, no thought of drinking, no interest in drinking. And it's like, all I did was surrender. Like I just asked a God of my understanding in AA. And when that happened, I was like, I need to know who this God is, because that's a miracle. Like it was a miracle coming out of the water right next to my wife. That was a miracle. But having something you've tried to stop doing for 7 or 8 years and hating yourself every time you drank and feeling terrible every time you drank, yet doing it pretty much every single day and thinking like, why can't I stop? And it being gone like this. Wow. That's when I was like, AA is a beautiful place to allow you to say a God of my understanding or misunderstanding, I might say. And I was like, I want to know who this, I know it's Jesus, because I was on the beach that day reading the day before, reading the Bible, looking and thinking about Christ as my caddy, thinking about like, if
the day of tsunami?
The day before the tsunami, I'm on the beach reading an FCA Bible going, if this man, this God could walk alongside me on the golf course and give me the peace he's giving me right now while I read this, and the understanding and the knowledge that he's giving me, it's like, this is unbelievable. Like, like, he's telling me I'm going to face trouble. He's telling me I'm going to bring priests. He's telling me, let my yes be yes and my no be no, and let my light shine and all this stuff. And it's like, this is what I need. This is what I need. And so here I am going like, look, I went to church as a kid. I went to church at Christmas and stuff, but I thought being a Christian was being a good person and like not cussing. And I cuss like a sailor. So I was like, well, that can't be it, you know? And then it was like, I yoked up with Rich Sherman and just started to ask him all the insane questions that a new possible I might want to be a Christian had, and bit by bit just all these answers started to come together and just start to make sense, and it sort of started to realize like, okay, this is who I want my God to be, because this to me is truth.
Yeah. So on changetheodds.com, we have a marriage assessment that people take, and there's one question that's on there that strikes me, and it just simply on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being never and one being yes, there's active addiction, abuse, or adultery in our relationship. And here's what strikes me. To me, that's an obvious question. It's a yes or no. Either there is active addiction, abuse, or adultery, or there's not active addiction, abuse, or adultery. Here's what strikes me. A good number of people who answer that question, there's a good number of 1s, there's a good number of 5s, there's a fair number of 2, 3s, and 4s, which makes me think that there's a good number of people out there, either they themselves or they're married to somebody who's drinking, and they're like, it might be a problem. I'm not sure. Alcohol might be a problem.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the signs that, look, this is not normal. This is an issue for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things that AA would say, which is, can you stop when you start? You know, and that's for a lot of people, that was the hard part, because I could sometimes, you know, and then really when you try to stop, can you stop for any length of time? Yeah. So I'd stop on a Monday and be like, yeah, but it's Margarita Tuesday. I don't even like margaritas, but it's Tuesday, you know, like, so for me, it's that thing of like, do you hate yourself after you drink? That's probably a big question I had to ask myself. Do I not like myself after I drink and I feel terrible? And do I want to stop? Yeah. And can you stop? No. And could I see my life without stopping? No. I just couldn't, because like I do everything. We're going to go to the baseball game. Oh, okay. We're going to go like, okay. We're going to go boating. It's like, you do this without alcohol? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you bother doing anything without, like, it was and what do my friends think? And I wouldn't know how to act, and I wouldn't know what to do. It was all confusion. And now I look at it and I'm like just so grateful not to be drinking, and so happy to be in situations where I can be present with people and great conversations and connect with them. And it's just like, so just the Christian life has showed me, it's just always the paradox. It's like what you think you're going to get is going to be the exact opposite, and the thing you think you're going to hate, you're absolutely going to love. So that's kind of been my journey. Yeah.
One thing that always strikes me about being around you, Will, is I've noticed other recovering addicts that they can't be around alcohol at all. You can be, and not only that, but your approach very quickly with people is, no, that's if you want to drink, you drink. That's not my issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How does that work? You're talking about somebody who doesn't drink, who's never drank, right? How does that even work? And why is it that some people really struggle? And I'm okay with I can't be around it, but I think what I sometimes get confused about is they almost become judgmental of, you got to stop drinking because I'm here. Yeah. How does that balance even work?
So I would say, as I understand the Christian life and the Holy Spirit, and I look at AA, it's that if you're really working the program, I've found that people don't, like, once you've had, it says a spiritual experience, like it's just literally taken away from you, then you should be in that place. And so for some people, it takes a lot longer, but all the guys that I've sponsored, it's literally gone. Now the guys that relapse over and over again, they're on the fringes. You know, we talk about the pack, and it's like, be in the middle of the pack, because, you know, the lion's going to get the weak one with the bad leg off to the right and going to just come and eat him and take him away. So get around the right people, yoke up with the right people, be in it. And I think that's where, when you're doing that, I look at the Holy Spirit and what the Holy Spirit gives you, and it's just like, gives you patience and gives you calm, you know, and love and all these things, right? And then when I'm in sin, so again, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, you know, if when you're getting in those places, in early sobriety, you're going to drink again. Now, I'm blessed to have 12 years, I'm going to go to my other character defect, which would be anger. You know, I'm going to get frustrated. So I got to check those things and realize, am I surrendering anything to God right now? No. How's that working for you? And sometimes I want to keep playing that roller coaster, and it usually crashes pretty hard. But I haven't picked up yet. You know what I mean? Which is a blessing. But I would say, go all in. I mean, look at the way you drink. Are you committed to staying that with your sobriety. Like if you drank once a night, then drink once a night. But if you drive or walk 6 miles to go and get booze and drink, do you know what I mean? Drinks that you didn't even like, and so, well, how hard are you going to go at it? And that's what you're going to get in return. But after a while, it's just removed. So it's not like the work gets you somewhere, but it's like grace. It's like one day you just realize I just don't want it anymore. And that's crazy.
Yeah. And now you're in the process of helping other people. I mean, it's part of AA, is the whole sponsorship kind of concept. What is it that you see in sponsoring others that you would say, hey, here's some patterns of people who aren't going to make it? I mean, you already talked about it being in the fringes and that kind of thing. But to a listener who is out there, who they think they can stop on their own, even though there's a track record where clearly they haven't. They don't think they have a problem, even though their spouse is reminding them that they do actually have a problem. What would be your encouragement to them?
I would say the encouragement is that if you think you can stop on your own, you think you have willpower, and it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. Like, it's a bit harsh, but if you understand alcoholism, when guys relapse the day they come out of rehab, you're like, yes, way to go. And everyone's like, that's horrible. I'm like, no, because like now you've proved to yourself that you're an alcoholic now. Well, like you want the train wreck to be hard, because then it's like no normal person would do that, And so I think sometimes, there's this, I hope the best for you and I want you to stay sober. And it's like, no, we learn through pain. And so what tolerance of pain do you need? Unfortunately, since I've been in AA, I've seen a lot of people drink themselves to death and not get it. So the hard part of it is it's sort of like, it's not about coddling that person, but it's like, how much are you willing to lose? Because you're going to lose it all for sure. That'll happen if you keep following this. So the more that you can just be genuine with another man and you care enough. I'll give you an example. I fly on a plane to Melbourne, 22 hours. I land. It's a Friday. And I'm like, sweet, there's got to be a meeting. Go on the meeting app. I know where I am. Oh, it's 20 minutes away. Cool. Hop in an Uber, drive to a meeting, get in there late because I got one of those Lime scooters and it ran out of battery. Anyway, get in there late. There's 30 people in the room. I know every single one of them. 100%. I know them. Get done. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Will. Clean up the... Now, I could have easily been like, well, they didn't really welcome me, but clean the coffee cups, shut up and do some service, clean some coffee cups, start to talk to some guys. Next thing you know, we're all out having dinner together, having a great time talking about sobriety in Australia. Like, that's the beauty, is that like, I know the mind of another alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? And I think as Christians, I think that's what we want, but sometimes we try and put it together like we've got it together. But very few people show up at an AA meeting and be like, oh, hi, I'm here, I'm great. I'm here because I know I need to be here. And I can't wait to meet some guys that I don't know and just hang out with them. And then the next night meet them for another meeting, and the meeting didn't happen. So we all just hung outside and just talked. And it wasn't all about, do you drink anymore? It's just getting to know people, but knowing exactly what they've been through. And so that's that community and that connection, which is just a miracle. You know, it's just an absolute miracle.
So here's what I don't understand. I mean, looking at y'all's story, I mean, good grief, you go through probably the most traumatic event you possibly could go through on your honeymoon. Couples who go through that do not stay married. Couples who go through alcoholism generally do not stay married. Now, Mandy isn't here, but
and we're doing a kitchen remodel right now. So that's that.
Couples who go through a kitchen remodel do not stay married. How have y'all made it?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say in the beginning, it was all about me trying to fix her, and because her PTSD was so different than mine. Mine was, we need to do this, and there's not a right or wrong. It's not. It's just. She was incapacitated and looked at death all day. I never saw one person that had died. I just went out there and made us try and survive. So for me, I had a perspective of how blessed we are, and this is amazing. For her, it was, I lost everything. I have no photos of my honeymoon. I have nothing that we bought. It's all gone. Do you know what I mean? And so being in a new marriage and going through that and being like, but babe, why can't you see it this way? And her saying, but babe, why can't you see it my way? Well, yours is negative. I don't want to talk about that. So she was able to actually look at it and experience grief and experience depression and experience that. I was just like, energize as a bunny. It's going to be fine. Let's just keep going. So I suppose over the years, learning how not to fix another person, because I can't even fix myself, right? And so I think that's been helpful. Lots of counseling, we went and did Imago, and we've done all sorts of different stuff together. Continually coming to like big Wednesdays and stuff, not prompting you, but just learning more. Like, what am I going to do? I'm a golf coach. It's like, if you don't work on your golf game, it deteriorates. And I can see right now, I haven't worked on my golf game in 10 plus years, and it's like, it's not good. It's just not like what you did 10 years ago is what it's going to be showing up like now. Yeah. And 10 years ago, I wasn't practicing on my golf game. So my golf game's rusty. And so I think that, a lot of prayer, a lot of wonderful family, around us. We have I love my in-laws. My parents love my wife. And so a lot of connection. And I think probably what's kept us together is going through AA and then getting to church and having those connections. But where I can still go to my guys with AA, and I'm starting to get them in the church now with guys that I can get really honest with and not scare them. In AA, you don't scare people. That's same as me. In church, they might be like, "You're nuts," and it's like, "Oh yeah, no, I know that. Like, I'm not stable."
You're like, "You're not."
Like, okay, you're stable. Okay, good. Like, you haven't admitted it yet. So I think, it's a blessing, right? I don't know. How are we still married? 20 years. We just had our 20-year anniversary. And I would say, I know for a fact, I say this to my wife all the time, I am happier married to my wife now than we are than when we got together. And every other relationship I'd ever been in it got just worse and worse and worse. And my marriage has got stronger and stronger and stronger, and 2 wonderful children. And yeah, it's not easy, but it's, with kids and the craziness, but it's like, wow, we're in this together. Like, we're kind of getting through this together. So yeah, we're just blessed, really. Yeah. Just blessed.
As we're filming this, you just picked up your kids from school, right? Yep. Is there ever a moment in which you get them in the car and it's the chaos of what a family of 4 is really like, and you just have a second of realization of how close this was to not happening?
Oh, absolutely.
And what are those moments like?
It's always December 26th. It's always, I call Marcus, my son's called Marcus, and so I call Marcus Melberg in Sweden. And I say, I know you know what's coming, but you're going to get this again, man. You're a hero. You saved my life. Like, if it hadn't have been for you, he gave up on his mum and his dad and his sister and his brother-in-law and went after 2 strangers. He knew they were on the island somewhere, and he could have gone and saved them, but he didn't. He came after complete 2 strangers that had no connection to him. And he knew what had happened already. Lots of people had already died. So what was 2 strangers? And he pulled us out the water, and he spent the day with us. And I just tell him, like, you didn't have to do that. And people say, well, you'd have done it. I said, just think about what you just said there. You would give up on your own mum and dad and your sister and brother-in-law for 2 people you don't know, when you know the entire island's gone and thousands of people are already dead? I'm like, sorry, but that's unbelievable pride. That is, because I'm not sure I would. I would be like, I can't help you. But I screamed at him and said, if you don't help us, we're going to die right in front of you, and you can't help your own family. And he pulled us in. And 2 days later, he found his mum in a hospital. I think it was mum in Koh Samui on the other side of Thailand, his dad in another hospital, and both of his sister and her husband alive, all 4 of them, but didn't know for 48 hours, and it rescued us. Wow. So he gets a phone call from me every year, and I say, listen, man, I love you to pieces, and I can't thank you enough, because every day I look at my son, I'm like, he's named after Marcus, and it's like, it wouldn't be if it hadn't been for him. Yeah. So.
Well, Will, what an amazing story. Thank you for sharing it. Absolutely. And I love you, love Amanda, and who y'all are, the people that you are. And here's what I love about this. You truly have, and y'all's marriage changed the odds, that everything was stacked against this relationship making it. And yet y'all have done the work. Y'all have experienced the grace of God, and now you're reaping the benefit of so much of that. Doesn't mean the work stops.
No
it
way.
Doesn't. Instead, it makes it so much easier to see that the work is worth it. Yeah. And y'all will continue to reap the benefits. So thanks so much for sharing.
Hey, thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.